Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ms. Humbert here, and we're going to be doing Unit 7, Notes 2. So we're talking about circumferences today. So what is a circumference? It's probably something that you've learned about previously in middle school. And so the circumference is the distance around a circle. So we're talking about how long it would take us to go all the way around the circle. Okay, so what does that look like? All right, so the circumference, there's two formulas we can use. Let's say we're given the diameter. Remember, the diameter goes through the center of the circle, and it spans all the way across. Okay, maybe we know the length of the diameter. If we know the diameter, then we're going to use the formula d times pi. Take a second and look at the calculator you're using. Find the pi button. The pi button is going to look just like that one does, right there. Okay, so d times pi. Pi represents a number. Pi is about 3.14. But when you're doing all of these calculations, I want you to actually use that pi button on your calculator as opposed to 3.14. Now, let's say, for example, we just know a radius of the circle. So maybe we know a radius. We know this distance, or this distance, or this distance. Remember, they're all the same. If we know a radius, then we use the equation 2 pi r. So we use both of these depending upon which one, which part of the circle we know. So let's take a look at this. So for example, okay, if the diameter is 10, what is the radius? So if the diameter is 10, then what we're going to do is we're going to take the diameter and divide it by 2, because remember, the radius is half of the diameter. So if the diameter is 10, the radius is 5. So now it's saying if the radius is 5x, what is the diameter? Well, if we have the radius, to get the diameter, we're going to multiply it by 2. So then the diameter is 10x. So really, you only have to use one of the two formulas if you want, but it's kind of nice to have them both. So let's take a look at number 3 now. So for number 3, if RT is 10, so I take a look, RT, well, that stands the entire length of the circle, and it goes through the center. So RT is our diameter. And it wants us to find the circumference of that circle if RT is the diameter. Well, if we're using the diameter, then we want to use that circumference is equal to diameter times pi. So what we're going to do is our diameter is 10, so I'm going to plug that in. Now, pi is an irrational number. Whenever you multiply by pi, you're always going to get a crazy decimal. Okay, so what we're going to do now is our exact answer, we're actually just going to leave as 10 pi. So for our exact answer, you don't actually multiply 10 times pi. But then you can take a rounded version of it. So then in your calculator, you will do 10 times pi. So in your calculator, type 10 times pi right now. And when you do that, you get 31.415. Now, I typically tell students to round to the second number, or the hundredths place. So then you look at the third number. If the third number is 5 or greater, you're going to round the second number up. Well, since it's 5, I'm going to round it, I'm going to round just that number next to it up. I'm not going to round all of them. I'm just rounding that number. So I get 31.42. So that's our circumference estimated. 10 pi is our exact. Let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, we have find the circle of a circumference with a radius of 2.5 centimeters. So our radius is 2.5 centimeters. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and use that formula. So we have C is equal to 2 pi r. Since we know the radius, we're going to use that formula. So C is equal to 2 pi, then I'm going to multiply it times the radius. So to get the exact measurement, we're going to take 2.5 and we're going to multiply it by 2. So 2.5 times 2 is 5. So our exact measurement for this is going to be 2.5 times 2, which is 5 pi. To get our estimated then, what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 and times it by pi. So that's our rounded version. rounded. There we go. So then we're going to take 5 times pi. And when you put that in your calculator, you end up getting 15.707. So again, we're going to take a look at that third number. Since it's 5 or greater, we're going to round that just that second number up. 1. And we want to make sure we label both of these centimeters. So our rounded is centimeters, and our exact is 5 pi centimeters. Taking a look at number 5. So for number 5, the circumference of a circle has a diameter of 16 feet. Okay, so the circumference is going to be equal to the diameter times pi, since we're given that the diameter is 16. So now I'm going to plug in 16 for pi, or for diameter, sorry. So then our exact is going to be 16 pi. Then our rounded, we're going to take 16 times pi. So 16 times pi is going to be equal to 50.265. Again, I'm looking at that third number. I see that it's 5 or greater, so I'm going to round this second number up, or that hundredths place. So that's going to become 27. And we want to make sure we label both our exact and our rounded answer feet. You'll have to bear with me here. I guess my Smartboard didn't save. Okay, so let's take a look now at number 6. It says an asteroid hit the Earth and created a huge round crater. Scientists measure the distance around the crater as 78.5. What does that tell us? That actually tells us that our circumference is 78.5 going all the way around. Well, it asks us what is the diameter of the circle. So we want to use that formula that deals with the diameter. So we want to use that C is equal to D pi. So what we're going to do now is we are going to take our diameter, which is we don't know, but we know our circumference from here. So we have 78.5 is equal to our diameter times pi. So to solve this for the diameter, we have to divide both sides by pi. Pi is really just a number, so we can divide both sides by pi. And then we get that our diameter is 78.5 divided by pi. So when you do that, you end up getting 24.987. So then we want to round. I take a look at this third number. I see that it's 5 or greater, which means this number is going to be rounded up. So I have 24.99, and then I want to label that miles. Okay, because it said that it was miles around the circumference, so that my diameter is also being measured in miles. Let's take a look at number 7. So number 7, a series of crop circles was discovered in Alberta, Canada on September 4th, 1999. The largest of the 3 circles has a radius of 30 feet. Find the circumference. So we're dealing with the radius. So we have circumference is equal to 2 pi r. That's the formula we want to use because it deals with the radius. So I know that the radius is 30 feet. So now I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to plug in 30 for r. So I'm going to start by finding my exact answer. So I can take 30 times 2, and I get 60, and that's pi. So it's 60 pi feet for my exact answer. Now let's get an estimate. So you're going to take 60 times pi in your calculator, and you get 188.50 feet. So that's how many feet there are for the circumference of that crop circle. Next, let's take a look at number 8. So for number 8, it says find the diameter of a radius of a circle to the nearest hundredth. So that's what we've been doing with the 2 decimal points. If the circumference of the circle is 65.4 feet. So we know that the circumference is 65.4 feet. Now we're trying to find the diameter and the radius. Well, let's start by finding the diameter. So we know the circumference is 65.4 feet, and that's going to be equal to the diameter times pi. So then to solve for the diameter, we're going to divide both sides by pi. So when we do that, we end up getting that the diameter is equal to 65.4 divided by pi, which is 20.82. And we want to label that feet. Okay, so again, you should be calculating this out with me so you kind of make sure you're doing it right. So now it's actually really easy for us to get the radius. Remember that the radius is just half the diameter. So all we have to do to get the radius is take the diameter and divide it by 2. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 20.82 divided by 2, and I get 10.41 feet when you divide it by 2. So that's your final answer for number 8. Now let's talk about inscribed and circumscribed circles. So here's a circle that you guys are given. So basically, when we're dealing with circles, you can actually have polygons that are inscribed inside of the circle. So I'm just going to label these. So really all of these are just a bunch of chords being put together. All right, so an inscribed circle, polygons are inscribed in the circle. All the vertices lie on the circle. So notice that all of these lie on the outside of the circle. So then we can say under inscribed, we can say that polygon LMNP is inscribed in circle K. Next, circumscribed, okay? So that means that circles are circumscribed about a polygon if it contains all the vertices of the polygon. Okay, so for that one, I'm just going to abbreviate since you guys already have it written. Okay, we can say that circle K, so now we're describing circle K, not the polygon. So circle K is circumscribed about the polygon. So now we're talking about the circle, not the polygon. About polygon LMNP. So let's take a look at number 9. So when we're dealing with number 9, what we have is we have a circle that has a square inside of it. So we have a circle, and it wants us to find the circumference of the circle. So here's our square inside of that circle. It gives us, okay, these should actually be touching. If I could draw, that would be really nice. So this is 9, which also means that this guy is 9 right here, because this is a right angle. These are also 45-degree angles, because the diameter then is cutting that in half. So what I have here is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So if you think back to last unit, when we had a 45, 45, 90 triangle, if you knew the legs to get the hypotenuse, you would take the hypotenuse and multiply it by the square root of 2. So it's really important that you kind of hang on to that note sheet. So now we know the diameter of this circle is 9 square root of 2 because it's the hypotenuse of our 45, 45, 90 triangle. So now to get the circumference, what we're going to do is we're going to take 9 square root of 2 times pi. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that pi and I'm going to put it outside of the radical just by the square root of 2. And so for this one, I'm going to leave it as the exact answer. So all I have to do is label this inches. So it's 9 pi square root of 2 inches for your final answer for number 9. Let's take a look at number 10. Find the circumference of a circle with a circumscribed square that is 10 feet long. Okay, so here we have our circle. And we're going to put a square in it. And it says the side is 10 feet long. So this is just like our previous problem. We have a right angle here. These are 45. These are 45. Well, since we know the side is 10, to get the hypotenuse, we're going to take the leg and multiply it by the square root of 2. That was given to us last unit as one of our rules. So then again, my diameter is 10 square root of 2. So then we get C is equal to 10 square root of 2, and then we're going to take and we're going to multiply that by pi. Remember that for the diameter, the circumference is diameter times pi. So then again, I'm going to bring that pi here, and then I end up getting 10 pi square root of 2. Last but not least, I want to make sure I label it, and my label is feet. So that concludes your note video today. Go ahead and show me your completed note sheet when you're done. Thanks for listening.